Good morning, everybody. It's Teresa here from One on One, and I am so excited today to have one of our awesome partners, Todd Doobrow, come speak with us. He is a financial advisor with RFG, and he's been in the industry for 20 years. So, without any further ado, I'd like to welcome you, Todd. You're coming live via from Birmingham, Alabama. It's awesome to see you. How's
Yes,
weather
ma'am. How you
there, by
doing?
the way? I didn't get
It's
to
a
ask
it's
you.
a it's a brisk 31 right now.
Ooh, well, we woke up in the 40s a couple days ago, and that is very cold for Florida. So
Right.
nice to get a little chilly, but anyway. So I have a lot of questions to ask you today, and I'm really excited that you're here because I know a lot of the doctors are constantly asking these questions. And one would be, what have been a few of the hot button issues that you've helped clients with over the last year or so?
Yeah. So our practice, just to give you a little bit of vision on our practice, we work mainly with white coat clients. About 96% of our clientele are dentists and doctors from all over the United States. So we've really focused a lot with them on what we've coined financial efficiency. We want to make sure that they're spending the money and they're generating the money in the most efficient ways possible. So over the last year, with a lot of inflation in terms of product costs, in terms of HR issues, we've helped them take a deeper dive into their practice just to make sure that little things that are often overlooked are being addressed. Things
Mhm.
like pricing procedures and insurance reimbursements. Let's make sure that you're getting the most value you can out of those dollars. And then on the back end, we've really taken a very deep dive over the last 6 to 8 months into passive expenses. And we consider passive expenses things that a lot of doctors spend money on, but they do it so often they've almost become numb to it. So things like your lease agreement, if you don't own your building, if you lease it out, now's a great time to renegotiate commercial real estate. Your supplies, there's a lot of companies out there selling supplies. If you have a preferred vendor that you like, now's a good time to see if they can give you a better rate for it. And personally, in our practice, we've really drilled down into pricing of retirement plans, especially 401ks. There's been a lot of fee compression within the 401k market. So we've got a meeting to wrap up another doctor right after this call. Small plan, not huge, just over $1 million. And they haven't shopped it in about 7 years. So we're taking it over. They're keeping the same plan with the same company, the same account number, the same everything. And we just put a different share class in it. We're going to end up saving them about $17,000 a year. So, we recognize $17,000, probably not life-changing money, but when you think about how much work you have to do to generate $17,000, why not take advantage of those scenarios when they present themselves?
Exactly. That's good advice right there. And how did you start working with dentists and white coats?
So my story was a little bit different. I actually started in Atlanta, and I was working with a lot of athletes and large management at a big company that was headquartered in Atlanta. Very, very, very long story short, met my wife when I was there. My wife went through dental school, and not long after she started her residency, her father, actually, who was a periodontist as well, passed away unexpectedly. Had to leave my practice in Atlanta and move to Birmingham to start running a dental practice. So along with a couple other side businesses that my father-in-law had. So that took about 6 or 7 years to get cleaned up and sold off. My wife still runs the dental practice now, but when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my next steps, I realized I just come from running a dental practice for the last 6 or 7 years. I'd seen how my father-in-law was handling his finances, and just realized there was a large community out there of people who needed help. And they needed help by someone who had a vested interest in seeing them succeed, not just, hey, I want to work with dentists because that's where the money is.
Right.
So, we've started working with those dentists and dental groups in about 17 different states right now, a lot of Southeast. Just picked up my first client in Hawaii. That's kind
Oh,
of cool.
congratulations.
Make sure to go do a house call to them next year.
Yeah.
Um, to the four corners of the United States, and it's really been a good process based on delivering what we say we're going to do.
You know,
And most,
go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say most dentists appreciate when you say you're going to do something, you follow up with it. Just like your patient sitting in the chair, if you tell them you're going to do something, they expect you to make good on what it is you're saying.
Exactly, exactly. Well, I know with everything with the pandemic that happened, Zoom has definitely opened up the world a lot,
Yeah,
and I think that's one great advantage. I know in the past, a lot of the doctors and people who I talked to said they wanted their financial advisor to be local. You know, they wanted somebody they can go in and walk into and see. And I just think Zoom, and I'm sure, you know, you saying you have all these clients from all over the United States, I mean, it's just as easy to have a client on Zoom
sure.
and you can help them. So I think, have you had any pushback from that? Because
No, we've been using Zoom for about the last 6 or 7 years anyways. So this is just kind of how we do it. We feel like the rest of the world has just caught up with us. But Therese, one thing I find very interesting about our medical clients is they don't want to take an hour out of their day to sit down and have a face-to-face meeting anyways. What most people want is send me an email, let me read it on my time, and we'll connect for 15 or 20 minutes when my schedule allows. So whether it's face-to-face or over Zoom or over a call, we're finding most of our docs don't want that hour and a half meeting. What they want is 10 to 15 minutes, 7 or 8 times throughout the year. So the way that we've just structured the business makes it a lot more user friendly for a Zoom anyways.
that's excellent. So I know you said you're working with a lot of dentists. I do have a lot of medical doctors also that would
Mhm.
be interested. Um, what is your clientele as far as that? Do you work with a lot of medical as well?
Yeah, it's notice when I describe our practice, we call it really white coat. It's not more one or the other.
Okay.
And MDs, a lot of anesthesiologists, vets, optometrists, dentists, it's all they're all in that mix. The only difference is with some of those, we can customize financial plans a little bit better for the owner as opposed to someone who is an employee. There's a little more flexibility in what we can do. When we do get the employee doctor, we can still pull some levers. We're just constrained a little bit more by what we have access to.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, I know you bring a lot, you know, to the industry, and I'm real excited to have talked to you today, and thank you for answering some of these questions.
Sure.
Is there anything else that you would like to bring up at this time that you think doctors would like to hear? Something like what's a good investment right now? What's working for you guys?
No, what's working right now, especially with the market where it is actually the plan. I know that sounds like a very generic answer, but markets are up and down. The last couple of days, they've been down 1,000 points and then up 1,100 points. And yesterday was down 800 points and then it closed about 30 points down. Yeah, so there's an emotional aspect to all this that we've got to help keep you on that right path and that we don't do anything silly. I'm not one of those planners who says it's always a good time to buy. I think there are better times than others. So depending on the doctor and what it is they're trying to accomplish, now may or may not be a good time. One piece of advice that I'd like to share with the group is we had so much focus on market return, right? What did the market do? How did I do compared to the markets? And people ask me a lot of times, what did your clients earn last year? Right. And I'd like to just politely remind everyone that depending on where you are in terms of your work journey, you may or may not need what the market returned. So if you're a 30-year-old just starting out and you're working on paying back some loans and you've got 40 years before you retire, you can be a little more aggressive. You can do that and it's fine. For the 70-year-old doctor who just sold their practice and they've got 2 commas sitting in the bank, they may not need market return. They may need 4, 5, 6% that's mainly generated off of dividend income, and they're just worried about preservation. So I want to remind everyone, your race is your race. Your situation is your situation. And one of the frustrating things that we have to deal with all the time is, oh, well, I saw on TV, someone said this is always a bad idea. Right. And I know in medical offices, you guys get it too, between WebMD and everything else, the patient comes in and they say, hey, I've got this, and they've self-diagnosed themselves, even though they've never had a lick of med school. We deal with the same thing.
Right.
It's the same thing. So my little fortune cookie here is worry about what you need your money to do, and don't worry about what others are doing, because you don't know their situation. You don't know their lifestyle. You don't know if someone won the lottery and left them $1 million, so they don't need the money as much as you do. We just don't know. So focus in, don't focus out.
Great advice. Great advice. I like that a lot. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that. And we look forward to seeing you and hearing more from you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.